Hello. So today I want to talk to you about this big, beautiful pimple on the side of my mouth. This pimple has taught me a lot about myself and has taught me a lot about my body because I'm using it to understand German new medicine. And as you start to have things go on in your body when you are developing your understanding of German new medicine, it just kind of blows your mind with so many interesting and enlightening facts about things that you've experienced physically. And for me, this realization that I'm having regarding zits and pimples is mind-blowing and really wonderful. So a little bit of history. I've dealt with kind of acne and mild to moderate acne. It was never, there all the time, but it would just, I'd have a few zits and I just have a few zits, and it drive me crazy because I wanted them to be all gone. I wanted perfectly beautiful, clear skin, and it didn't happen for a really long time. And, my understanding of acne was bacteria. It's on your skin and it gets down into your pores, and that's what causes zits. And so what did I go on a mission to do? To eliminate all the bacteria from my face. I'd wash my face all the time. I would get the Proactive and the salicylic acid, and I'd use rubbing alcohol, and I just do my best to keep my face bacteria free. Even in doing that, I would still have breakouts. I would still get zits, and it would still drive me insane. And even, like I said, in my early 20s, I would still get these breakouts, and it was just really a very frustrating thing. So if you're out there struggling with acne, I know what it's like. It's really frustrating. And then I thought, the reason in recent years that my skin has been much clearer, and actually more, better than it's been my whole life, and I've attributed that to nutrition changes. So eating more probiotics and sauerkraut and eating well, and that's what I said, that's the reason that my skin is so much better. However, even still, I would have situations where I would think that I'd eat a certain food and I'd think that that food caused me to break out. But what we're going to do now is look at it from the German new medicine perspective, which just is amazing. So in German new medicine, the primary premise is that all symptoms, all problems going on with your physical body are a result of a subjective interpretation of your surroundings. So there's some type of conflict that you are experiencing, you're perceiving with your mind, with your subjective experience as threatening, as a conflict, as a problem. And you may not be aware of what this conflict is, but biologically your body senses that there's some type of danger, something that it needs to protect itself against. And every single one of your cells and your tissues and your systems have built-in programs for assisting you. And the built-in program of your skin, we're going to talk about a very specific layer of your skin because there are different conflicts associated with different layers. So the epidermis is the outer skin, and that has a correlation with a separation conflict, but that's not what's going on with acne. Acne has to do with the corium skin, or the dermis, so the underneath layer of your skin, that deep skin. And the conflict associated with the dermis, or the corium skin, is an attack conflict, or a conflict of feeling soiled. So there are so many different examples, and so each individual person will perceive situations differently. So that's the thing with German new medicine, is it's not just across the board, if this happens you're going to experience a zit. It's not like that. It's how are you perceiving a situation going on in your life. And with acne, something having to do with feeling attacked, maybe verbally or emotionally, or feeling soiled. And so for me, when I'm thinking back to, okay, so assuming that this is true, because that's what we do with these German new medicine principles, is it's just beliefs to try on. Assume that it's true for a little bit and see how it feels and see if it makes sense to you. And so for me, assuming that this is the proper model for why people get sick or why people develop a zit or any other symptom, I was like, okay, so feeling soiled, what does that mean to me? And so I think back to high school, and I think back to, why a lot of kids in puberty, they feel soiled in the sense of maybe not feeling attractive. They feel ugly. And I know that I dealt with a lot of that. In high school, you're like, oh, do I look good? Do these people think that I'm attractive? And that like preoccupation, that concern, or if you interpreted a situation where you thought that someone else thought that you were unattractive, you in that moment could feel soiled. If you felt embarrassed about maybe, your clothes, or you felt embarrassed about, something that goes on at your home, these episodes of feeling soiled, it could be, again, literally like there's something on you, or figuratively, something that you perceive as just kind of, I just don't feel good about this. And so I'm thinking back for myself, I think that I definitely had some, some security issues regarding the way that I look to people. And you can see how that would trigger, this need to protect. My body, senses that I'm having a conflict regarding my corium, regarding feeling, the way that I look, which has to do with like this corium skin, this layer of skin, which is there to protect you. And then once you get a zit, then what happens? So a lot of times you'll get a breakout all around the same area, because once you have it, then you feel soiled about having a zit on your face, and you can see how this would just kind of perpetuate until maybe you get to a point where you're just like, oh, whatever, I don't even care. And then it finally resolves and goes away, and you have clear skin for a little bit until you have another conflict. So feeling ugly, feeling soiled. Another thing for me is, because I was so paranoid and I thought that I just really had to wash my face, like anyone touching my face, if I even accidentally touched my face after I thought I touched something, with oil on it or something dirty, I would be so paranoid. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a zit there now because of, in my mind, it was the bacteria or some kind of oil or some kind of oils from my hands. I have this internal image that it's gonna get down in my pore and clog up my pore, and that's what causes a zit. And it's really easy to see how people mistake these things for that being the cause, when it's really just an effect. So what happens when you have this conflict of either being attacked or feeling soiled in some way, is that your corium skin is there to protect you. And this is evolutionarily, back when our ancestors didn't have an epidermis, they didn't have an ectoderm, they didn't have this outer skin, they just had this layer, and this layer was to protect them. And so if you felt attacked, what would you want to do? If you felt attacked from the outside, you would build up tissue cells, you'd proliferate the number of skin cells in that area as a protective barrier. And that's what goes on when you have an attack conflict, when you have a feeling soiled conflict, is that your body starts to proliferate cells in that area where you perceive the problem. And so something I do is I do these face exercises, and I do them almost every day. And recently, obviously, recently enough for this to be the result of it, I was doing one of my face exercises, and my hands are like all up on my face and in my mouth. And thinking back to why this happened was, if I had if I had not just washed my hands and I started to do my face exercises, I'd be touching this area of my face. And then if I have that notion, oh crap, I forgot to wash my hands before I did my face exercises, still having this correlation, like I felt soiled. And obviously in that moment, as soon as I felt soiled, my body started to proliferate the skin cells, the corium cells in this area. And once I resolve the conflict, so once I wash my face or wash my hands, or just I'm not thinking about it anymore, I'm not concerned about it, the program stops, the cell proliferation stops, and then your tissue cells have to have to break down the additional skin cells that were built up. And so how that happens is with bacteria. So bacteria are your friends. They help you in all circumstances. They're there, and they're helping to break down those excess cells that were formed for your benefit in that moment, but are no longer needed. And so there's bacteria. And during the healing phase, there's pus, there's inflammation. You can see that it's red. It's painful because all healing happens in a fluid environment. So there's so much fluid going right to the spot to heal me, to repair this tissue, to make me whole once again. And so this zit Normally I would have popped it by now because, we always like to interfere, to think we know better. Oh, I can go ahead and pop that. Plus, I really don't like the way it looks. I really, if I wasn't making a video about this specific topic, I'd be very embarrassed to have this massive zit on my mouth in a video. But when you realize what your body's doing and why it's doing it, it's just amazing. Before I would even think, this is another example of how you can feel soiled. I thought that I would get zits every time that I would say, if I'm out at a gathering or something and I'm eating food that has some type of bad oil in it or was cooked in bad oil, like soy or canola, corn, vegetable oil. Those are, I don't eat those oils because of the inflammation and because they're processed. And so I would think that every time I ate those foods that I would break out as a result of the inflammation properties. Those inflammatory oils were causing the breakout. But really what was happening, and this happened with my boyfriend too, we'd both, anytime we'd eat out, we'd say, oh, we can never eat out again, look at our skin. And it's this notion, this feeling that I have of feeling soiled when I'm eating a food that I don't normally eat, that I don't really think that I should be eating. And so I hope that you can see this connection, and that the being aware of any time that you're feeling, soiled, if you're feeling attacked, if you are feeling ugly, if you don't feel, beautiful, or if you're feeling embarrassed about something, how that can manifest as acne. And if you're someone who's dealing with acne right now, the acceptance of it as it is, knowing that your body is healing, and trying to resolve these conflicts and being aware of where they might be showing up in your life will help you so much. And I do still think that nutrition, good nutrition and probiotics and sauerkraut, because you want to have these bacteria, you want those bacteria there for what? For when you're healing, because that's what the bacteria are always helping you. They're not hurting you. So you really want to avoid things like antibiotics, which is a treatment for some acne. But it's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding of the way the body works. It's a lack of understanding of German new medicine and the healing phase of what happens when the body is healing. So I know that this is healing. I know that it will be gone as soon as it's ready to be, as soon as it's run through its whole significant biological program. So I hope that you learned something from this video. I mean, I certainly have, and I now know that it's this emotion, it's this subjective interpretation of feeling dirty, feeling soiled, feeling ugly, or feeling attacked that causes the cascade of events called zit to take place. So if you like this video, please share it, leave me a comment, ask me a question. Check me out on my learning, my G&M tutor page to learn even more wonderful things about German medicine. So I will see you again next time.